Hi Hannah, I'm Melanie and I will be doing a review of your video for multiracial cultural groups. I thought it was sad how you talked about the lawn keepers being a name that the Hispanics are called. That's a very sad thing because it's a stereotype talking about being unskilled and uneducated. So that's very sad that people do that and they're that cruel to actually call people that. And it also talked about how they were only suited for a waiver if that is the stereotype we're using. I'm glad you chose to focus on the occupational issues. I thought it would be interesting to see what you have, and you did a good job. I loved your video. I thought the job interviewing was interesting. I didn't realize that whites and blacks differed in their job interviewing in today's society. It looks like here whites have a 10% chance versus blacks have a 6.7% chance. It makes sense to me, but it's just a surprising fact, so I just thought that was interesting to share. And it's really knowledgeable to know in today's world with careers and things like that, so that was a good fact to know. So it's kind of thinking on that aspect too of, hey, are we going to pick this person because they're white? Are we going to pick this person because they're not black? Things like that. So it's an interesting concept to me when it comes to interviewing, if that really does indeed factor into them deciding who gets the job. You mentioned risk and resilience theory. And this is basically talking about self-realization as well as continuing to grow, how we maintain that positive growth. So that would be good for counselors to have an idea of what that theory is about so they can apply it to their counseling with the multiracial clients, because that would just help serve as a source of strength and give a better perspective on what they are going through as a community, as a culture, and how to handle it as a counselor and how to best help them with resources. Worldviews as well as cultural backgrounds come into play according to Earward and Hayes 2018. The multiracial group, the book is titled Developing Multicultural Counseling Competence, a Systems Approach, Pearson. The multiracial culture is constantly growing. They are developing and counseling awareness as well as knowledge and skills to use to more work with this population and culture in counseling, as well as what is appropriate for the population. Discrimination comes into play, of course, worldview experiences of the population relating on the multicultural aspects, relating to discrimination, things like that. The world is so judgmental, and discrimination is just one of those things that they always have to deal with. They're always worried about people being judgmental of them, and why wouldn't you be? I would be too. I mean, that's just an unfortunate fact that they always have to be worried about that. And you could identify as one race and then someone else could say, hey, are you this race? Like, you just don't know, and people are so judgmental of it all the time. It's really unfortunate. But as I said, more education on the multicultural groups for counselors according to the textbook, as well as developing those knowledge and skills, would also be helpful in counseling. According to Stephanie Guerrero, Social and Structural Influence on Multiracial Identification and Health, a Public Health Mandate to Precisely Measure, Theorize, and Better Understand Multiracial Populations, ohiolink.com, and the Journal of Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities, 2023. There needs to be a focus on understanding racism and discrimination as well as identification, because it impacts the health of multiracial Americans, and it's also important that we know these things in counseling. There's so many identity misconceptions and things like that, which I feel could impact jobs as you stated earlier about the interviews, it could impact who they hire, and it shouldn't be like that. It should all be an equal right to be hired, but unfortunately it's not. And there's just many outcomes like that in the racial and ethnical identity areas that allow for jobs to be affected, that allow for careers to be affected, that could affect who we hire, who we fire, like things like that. So it's just really important to know those things and the behavioral outcomes, as well as identification for these populations. And unfortunately, very little research has been done on this, so it's just one of those things that it's just constantly a factor, constantly an issue, and those stigmas are always there. And it would be best if, as mental health counselors, we can connect to resources so we are able to help with jobs, help with maybe there's some jobs that aren't discriminating. I mean, they shouldn't be, but maybe there's some that aren't. Maybe there's more out there that they can look at and get jobs where they don't have to worry about that sort of thing in a multiracial group. So I just thought more research on that and focusing on how to stop the stigma, how to stop discrimination with jobs, how to stop, assuming we don't have skills to do jobs and things like that. So I definitely would be willing to do that as well. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good day.